Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK,
And I'm Courtney.
and I got a facial today. So I promise I'm not greasy. I'm just have like a lot of moisturizer and like chemical stuff on my face. So I couldn't wear makeup or make myself not look like a flashlight.
That is okay.
But
It was very relaxing.
it was my friend who does my facials is actually my cousin's ex-girlfriend from like 8 years ago. But
Hang on to the good ones.
yeah, but she's great and I love it.
Nice.
But how are you?
Well, tired still. It's been a long summer and I am done with it. Um, Restaurant week has finally ended because
Good.
they say restaurant week and it's 5 weeks. I don't
Correct.
know why we call it restaurant week instead of restaurant summer, but it's fine. It's over now. So that's good. So I've been just like training a lot. But I had an experience on Friday that I texted you about. But I feel everyone should hear because I would like to yell from the rooftops about how mad it made me.
Literally,
I
go ahead, go ahead. Tell what happened first
so,
and then I will share my input on it.
absolutely. So we left work a little early, me and Sarah, and we went to the library because she had to renew her card. And I was like, I've been wanting to read House of Leaves. My friend's reading it now, so I was like, now I have to read it because somebody else I know is reading it, and that's how my brain works. So I bought it.
Right.
But so I was like, I'm gonna go to the library and see if it's there because I want the physical copy. And so I head over. I couldn't remember if it was sci-fi or horror. It is horror. And so I was over in the sci-fi section, and this person just comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, did you know this is the sci-fi section? Were you looking for the romance section over there?" And I was like, "Nope, I was looking for sci-fi." And they like laughed, and then they were like, "Oh, okay." And I was like, "No, I'm meant to be here." And I'm like, so I'm looking at the books, and they just like start walking towards me, like pushing me out of the aisle with their like movement. So I walked out, and they're like, you can just go up to the front desk and ask for a book if you're looking for a certain one. And I was like, yep, I do, but I like to look at the books on the shelves. I don't need to go ask them. But like, I'm like, I understand how a library works. I'm like, I was so mad. I was like, why would I not be in a sci-fi section?
Right. And here's the thing. Courtney texted me about this, and I had just spent the day at the county fair with my mom and my sister and my niece. Now, I don't know if you've ever taken a 20-month-old to the county fair when it's 90 degrees out, but it is very taxing on your patience for other human beings.
Yes.
So I was already not living my best life.
Mhm.
Now, mind you, this has nothing to do with my niece or my sister or my mom. Like, they're great and I love them. And like, no, like I realize that like that kind of sounds like I'm like, oh my gosh, children. No, other people. That's my issue.
Right.
So we're all in the car. We're all tired. We stayed at the fair as long as my niece could handle it. And but now she's like cranky and it's nap time and she's hot and tired and crying. And we're all hot and tired and inside crying.
Yes.
And I get this text from Courtney. And I read it out loud to my mom and sister, who then also absolutely lost their minds. Like we were about to drive my mom's Jeep all the way to this public library and fight somebody.
I had to leave the library. I was like, I can't be here anymore. It's very
It,
similar to the experience I had at GameStop when I said, "Oh, Call of Cthulhu. It sounds very fun and scary. Is it like super scary or would I like it? And they're like, I don't think you'll like it. Have you looked at Hello Mom or Cooking Mama? I was like, first of all, I'm
First of
just
all,
asking
yes.
about a
First of
horror
all,
game.
first of all, yes, I own Cooking Mama. Not the
Yes,
point.
I do own
Second of
Cooking
all,
Mama, but I was looking at a horror game and you suggested a cooking game to me.
because you're a girl, Courtney.
I'm not allowed to like horror and games. I'm not allowed to like sci-fi now. So, man, they would have lost it if they heard about our sci-fi podcast we have going. So, that's my complaint today.
And honestly, it's valid.
But on a positive note, because I don't want to end angry, I watched Moon Knight this
Oh, did
week,
you? Okay.
and it's lovely.
It's confusing a little
It
bit. I'm
was a
not,
little confusing. I really like Oscar Isaacs, so
me
like
too.
step one, I'm in.
Yeah.
But I watched it all at once, so just like all in a row. So I didn't have any space in between, which probably helped. But
Yeah,
I
probably.
did. I thought it was lovely. I enjoyed
Good.
it. So.
I had a very, very filled week. My sister and the baby are in town. If at any point there is a distraction or disturbance in this podcast, it is because we're trying our best. But for those of you who are also parents or parent adjacent to toddlers, you know that sometimes your best is not good enough. But we're great. Been taking her to the playground. We went to the fair. It's been lovely. My sister is complaining a lot though because she was yesterday was her 5th day in town, and of those 5 days, I left her to see my boyfriend 4 of them.
I do feel like she's been there a lot longer than 5 days, though.
Yeah, nope, she's only been here 6 days,
Hmm.
and I have hung out with Dan 4 of those 6 days.
Well, it happens.
It happens. We just had a lot to do this week.
How
Oops.
much longer is she in town?
Till the 13th of September.
Oh, that's right. Got plenty of time.
Right. That's what I'm saying. When she listens to this, she's gonna be like, when?
I know. It'll be
Just
like the 13th of September by the time she hears this. It won't be, but
it won't be. I was like, no, it
it'll be
won't. It'll be
almost
the
September.
28th of it'll be the
Yeah.
28th of August.
Mhm.
It will not even be the 1st of September.
Close to September.
Close, but no cigar.
Exactly.
Um, Speaking of cigars,
Yeah.
how should we celebrate life today?
Oh. Um.
I I don't know. My segue game is weak.
You want me to celebrate life today?
Well, your spiritual affirmation, celebrating life. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yeah,
I got you. I follow.
that's
Um,
okay. It wasn't a very good segue, so like that's fine.
I thought I needed to come up with like what I'm thankful for, like it was Thanksgiving.
Oh,
And I
that's
didn't.
cute. That's cute, but like we don't have to do that at all.
Okay, thank you. Um, Today we are gonna spiritually AF.
Mhm.
Everything's on my phone now. You can't see it because the light.
Yeah.
Did say these in the past. Stay close to anything that makes you glad you are alive. Isn't that lovely?
Okay, that reminds me of a song that I think I've definitely told you about, but I don't know if I've talked about it on the podcast.
Is it Machine Gun Kelly?
No, although that does make me happy to be alive.
Right.
But no, there's this guy and I follow him on TikTok and he like does like weird TikTok dances and stuff, but then he like made a real song and it's called Hating Stuff.
Oh
And
yeah,
like
yeah. I
And
think you
it's just
talked
like,
about it on the podcast.
oh, have I? It's just like a list of like all the things that make him happy to be alive. And then he's like, I don't know why we just spend so much time hating stuff. And I was like, you're right, dude.
You are right.
This this summer has been the summer of letting go of negative energy for me.
I've been trying my very best. I did tell Noelle we had dinner last night, and afterwards I was like, "We're gonna be," because we both had like a really stressful week. I was like, "It's gonna be a great week. Everything's gonna be good. Good. We're gonna do fine." She was like, "Okay." I was like, "Yeah." Then I get to work this morning and it's chaos, and I was like, "Well, I tried." I gave it a good solid 12 hours.
No, I did not want to go back to work today. I had the last week I was on vacation from work. I had to go back to work this morning. Most of the kids I like were not at camp today.
Oh, it's a bummer.
It was a bummer. It was a Monday. It was awful. Um, then I laid on the floor of a classroom to watch Stargate. I didn't eat anything until 5 o'clock. And my esthetician told me that my skin is dehydrated as shit. So, like, not necessarily a good day, but it is technically kind of my anniversary today. So, like, it's fine.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
I'm very dehydrated. I had to put lotion on my arms today. I was like, "It's not winter. This is not good."
No.
So I'm very dehydrated, but I'm working on it.
Me too. I got a facial and she put like this stuff in my face that like is supposed to stay and soak in for like 2 weeks.
Oh, nice. I'm just chugging water.
Yeah, you
That's
should
my
do that
answer.
too. You should do that too. I came home and I was like, yeah, Alex told me I'm dehydrated. And I took a Coke out of the fridge.
I mean,
And
I'm drinking a peach Fanta right now, but I have water beside me
oh, I,
and
I
a Coke
don't.
Zero beside
I
me, and another, I
I
have three waters beside me.
I have a full picnic basket of nothing but Kool-Aid jammers beside me.
Ooh. Do you have like strawberry kiwi?
No, no, I lied. Some of them are Capri Sun.
Mm,
Yeah. So,
not a big fruit punch person. Sorry.
well, I like fruit punch better than grape.
Yeah, well, yeah, true.
Um,
Sorry, that was real off tangent.
Speaking of things that I like better than grapes, Stargate SG1.
Excellent. Excellent segue. I liked that one.
I think there's not many things that I like less than grapes, though, to be
Oh, I
fair.
do like grapes,
Mm,
but I do like Stargate better.
I like I don't like grape flavored things.
Oh, no. I don't like grape flavored things. I don't like banana flavored things. But the
So
actual fruit, I like
so
both. You can't have bananas though.
no, I can't, but banana flavored things and watermelon flavored things I will eat, but I won't eat real banana or watermelon.
Because
Grape,
they will kill you.
yeah, grapes. I won't eat fake flavored things, but I will eat real grapes.
Mhm.
It's a balance.
Exactly.
We are on Stargate SG1, season 2, episode 2. And today's the 22nd of the year 2022.
Oh my God, it is.
I just like the number 2.
I'm sorry that like really threw me
Hmm.
off because I didn't follow all of that logic. But
No,
yeah,
22 is my number.
that's amazing. This
No,
is this is your
I should have
day.
worn
That was
my
going really well.
jersey.
You should
My
have. What are you
basketball
thinking?
jersey says 22. Anyway, the episode is called In the Line of Duty. I got,
I mean,
oh no, I get it now.
technically,
Yeah. No, but I don't know if it's about, I was thinking it was about Sam, but it's not.
right.
Yeah. It was rated 7.9 stars, which I think is respectable.
So
Yeah.
I'm trying. What
Like
was
it
last week
didn't,
rated? Like 8.6 or something
yeah.
wild. I would give this one an 8 or an 8.1
Yeah,
then.
I
I
was gonna
thought,
say I think I can see it breaking 8, but I definitely would say it was slower than last week. Like so I will give it
oh
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Um it came out on July 3rd, 1998, which ratings probably also weren't great because holiday weekend.
Yep, yep.
This number one song is still The Boy Is Mine by Brandy. Um, the number one movie, I actually laughed out loud
Oh no.
when I saw what it was. because the number one movie that week was Dr. Dolittle, starring Eddie Murphy.
Fuck. That movie did really well for itself, though. I mean, that was a big time for Eddie Murphy. The 90s is where he
Oh, oh,
thrived.
oh yeah, but Dr. Dolittle was the beginning of the end.
Well, yeah, but no one knew that at the time, so they all went and saw it.
Yeah. And then they were like, oh,
And then the second one came out, and no one saw it. Then the third one came out, and no one saw
correct. And then they tried to remake it with Robert Downey
it.
Jr. and no one saw it.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. Yeah.
Um, Nothing happened that day. So I tried to look up anything interesting, and all of the headlines that I could find anywhere involved the Japanese paying international debts and Bill Clinton not following through on promises about the AIDS crisis. So
Mm,
I decided I didn't want to talk about either of those things, and
excellent
I
choice.
moved on.
Yes, correct.
Um, it was directed by Martin Wood and written by Robert C. Cooper, so nothing new there. The guest star was a man by the name of Peter LaCroix. I don't know if it's pronounced LaCroix, but it's spelled the same way as the drink, so I'm calling him LaCroix.
I would guess so.
He is known for the film Disturbing Behavior,
I thought you were about to
which
say
I
Disturbia, and I was like, I love that film. You
know,
didn't.
a
You don't know
movie
this.
called Disturbing Behavior that I'm quite sure no one has seen, and
Mm.
this role. Those are his two most well-known
This
things.
one role
This thing that he just did in Stargate, yeah.
for a second. Okay,
Um,
that's fine. Poor
yeah,
thing.
yeah. He played the what is that word? The Ashrak.
Mhm.
So like he had two lines also. So the roles that he did that I did find interesting were that he was in 3 episodes of The X-Files and also had a role in the movie Free Willy 3.
Definitely saw it and 0% remember it.
Correct. And that's it.
Well, good for him.
But there was no one else to talk about this week. So
Well, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
unfortunately with this show, there's not a lot of different characters. And when there are, they don't usually have big roles.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Mhm.
We start on a planet where everything is being blown up. And
And
I
madness
was
mayhem.
incredibly confused
Me too.
because we just watched a 3-part episode. And then we're suddenly back to the what happens next doesn't connect to what happened before, and it threw me off a lot.
Yep. Yep.
Um, but SG-1 is on this planet and they are evacuating everyone. And also like trying to save the people that are dying while they're trying to evacuate them. And Sam is just giving CPR to a man. And while giving him CPR, a Goa'uld jumps from his throat down hers.
Which is very gross. And I also don't understand why she's giving this random man CPR.
Agreed.
And it's just very what's the word I'm looking for? Very convenient for the
Um,
story.
yeah, I hated everything about it,
Yeah.
to be fair. Except for
The eyes.
they did Sam's eyes well. Yeah, but other
I
than
will
that,
say the beginning of this episode, I was a little concerned where we were going. I was
fair.
like, am I gonna like this episode? Or are we
Um,
starting over?
I also started the episode being like, Courtney's gonna be so mad because it's so disjointed. And then as the episode went on, I literally have a couple places where I basically just starred things because I was like, oh, this is how I know Courtney will like this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so Hammond We show them getting back to SGC, and Hammond is quarantining all of the refugees and sealing the gate before any Jaffa can get in. And yeah, just standard refugee evacuation protocol. I guess. I don't know. I don't
New.
know. How often do they evacuate entire planets?
We'll never know.
We won't. We really won't, unfortunately. We also find out that we have no idea why this is happening.
Yeah.
Because usually when we are thrown into the middle of an already happening story, they then like explain. But this time they just show Daniel being like, we don't know.
Yep.
Great. So Daniel explains that the Goa'uld attacked a peaceful people who
Mhm.
don't possess or who don't pose a technological threat to them. And Daniel and Hammond are both like, this is so confusing. Why did this happen? This is it's not ordinary. It's not what they normally do. And Jack's like, I don't know. Why do we think we know what they normally do? We just blew up Apophis. Like, we don't know what comes next.
Yeah.
And I was like, when Jack is the voice of reason, you fucked up.
You know that everything's gone wrong.
And Teal'c's like, yeah, no, they definitely just do shit with no reason. Like, don't expect to understand the reason of the Goa'uld. They don't have reason. They are hateful, evil creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And the Goa'uld in Sam is like, no, we just don't tell you shit because you're a Jaffa, bitch.
I know. And I was like, well, if we didn't know before, now we know
Correct.
that she is
Um,
indeed got a guy inside her.
my note actually says, Goa'uld Sam is like, you're just a Jaffa. We don't tell you everything. I mean, JK, we don't know everything. What? And then everyone's like, yeah, no, I definitely agree with Sam. I was like, okay. Um, the observation skills of the members of SG1 leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Like I figured out it was the Goa'uld, and I don't know anything about what's going on half the time. So like people who have met the Goa'uld should know, especially
Right.
people who
I
has a
mean,
Goa'uld.
to be fair, we saw the eye flash thing and nobody else did.
Yeah. So, I also want to ask about the people on this planet. Do you discuss them later, or do you discuss like they're called the Nasia? Is that right?
The Nassian, yeah. I
Is that
don't
like
really,
an alien race, or is that like a people taken over by a
it's
Goa'uld
just a people.
race?
It's just a
Okay,
people. Yeah. I don't really talk about them because they're not really that important. No
okay,
offense.
that's right. I was just wondering if they had like
Mhm.
a specialness to them.
No.
All right,
Or at least not one that is necessary to discuss for this episode.
memorable.
But no, they're really not that important.
Cool.
Um, so Daniel's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna talk to the refugees and like see what they were doing on that planet, and then like maybe I'll know why the Goa'uld wanted to kill them. And Hammond's like, no, what you're gonna do is help us find a place to relocate them, and then you can talk to them,
Yeah.
because that's your job. And then they're like, okay, meeting dismissed, blah blah blah. And Jack is like, hey, Sam, by the way, uh, Dr. Fraser says you didn't come to check in like at the end of the mission. And Sam's like, oh yeah, definitely don't want to break protocol, Colonel. And like does like awkward bisexual shoulder punch. Where I was like, she's hella weird about her reaction to things.
Everything, yeah.
And Jack has a moment where he's like, well, that was interesting. But that's as far as he takes it. With the number of times that people in their lives have either been abducted, taken over, replaced with robots, mind wiped, like, why the first time somebody does something that tweaks me out, 100% figuring it out. Like, clearly, none of these people in the show are millennials. because
Oh, of
the
course.
because the anxiety that exists in a millennial's brain at all times would absolutely never let this happen.
Absolutely.
Because the first time somebody did something that doesn't seem normal, we'd be done. We'd be out. We'd be
We'd
trigger
question
warning.
it forever.
We would question it to every single person who's ever talked to them.
Yes.
Oh my God,
Did
could you
you see
imagine?
Sam's response? Did you do you know what she said? She gave me this weird shoulder punch. Is she mad at me?
Right. Like, yeah, like do you she didn't go see Dr. Fraser. Like, do you know where she went? Like, did something happen? Is she mad about us? Like the thing
Is
that
she
she said
mad at Dr. Fraser too?
I was like, the thing that she said to Teal was kind of weird. Like, did somebody say something to her on the other planet? Like, should we be worried? Like, no. Could you imagine Stargate for millennials?
Absolutely.
It
Never,
would
you'd never get past episode one.
absolutely not.
It would
No,
not
it
be
would be
renewed for 10 seasons.
correct. Um, but the doc does go to examine Sam, and it's like, oh, you look great, nothing's wrong, but there is this weird abrasion on the back of your throat. Like, do you have a sore throat? And she's like, no, no. And she's like, okay,
No, she said a little bit.
oh, she's like a little bit. She's like, yeah, well, Cassandra's been asking about you, and Sam clearly doesn't know who that is.
Yeah.
And it's like awkward. And she's like, okay, well, like I'll come here. Yeah, I will come visit her at the hospital tomorrow. Now, I have a couple things about this.
Mhm.
I understand that it is not the norm for a ghoul to enter not through the outside of the body.
Right.
I don't like the word abrasion. And if someone told me that there was an abrasion in the back of my throat, I would absolutely want to know how it was caused.
Yes. Yes. I would have a lot more questions.
Correct. So, mm, no.
I am. I also have some Cassandra questions at this point.
Sure.
So this is the girl that was the little bomb girl, right?
Correct.
Okay. And is she played by the same person?
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't recognize her, but she's
Mhm.
a child. She probably just grew up. Like a year and
Yeah, it
was
was like a year later. And she was 12 the first time, so she's 13. And at that age, that can be a lot of change.
yeah, so I would imagine that's why. But also, is she recurring? Or is this just like a one off every now and then? Like,
It's more recurring in the sense that she comes back every once in a while, but she's never like on the base, so she's never going to be like series regular.
got it.
Yeah.
I know it's 10 seasons, so it's a little more flexibility there, but I just get a little frustrated when there's like one character who they're like, here's your one episode of them. And it's like, why do you even keep bringing them back? Like, we could be discussing other things.
We
But
could,
it
but
makes
she's
sense why she's there.
not. She's not misused in any way.
No, no. I worry how many characters they're gonna do like that. But I also know that like Jack's family's not coming back. So like they brought them, they got rid of it. And so like a lot of them are not coming back. So if
Right.
it's like, she's one of like three or four big characters that just come back every so often, it's not.
Yeah. I think, and with the format of this show and the fact that it is like, even though there's a main family and like family in the sense of the main characters, and it is like a workplace show and there is a overall arc, it is still like monster of the week kind of in the sense
Right.
that like there's always going to be a new story, and outside of the core five, it's really, really hard for characters to stay relevant.
Mhm.
So like popping in and out is the best you're gonna get for a recurring character
Yeah.
in this style of show.
Right. And that's fair too. I would be concerned if there were too many characters like that because I would not remember them all.
No, 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 then that's fair. And they don't I don't think well,
Because like it took me a second to remember who Cassandra was because they didn't like remind you.
right.
So, but I did remember who she was because she
Yeah.
was. But
That's fair. That's a fair point that like they haven't even mentioned her.
yeah,
It would be different if she like was mentioned but just not on the show because they're at work. But
right,
they
right.
hadn't even mentioned. So that's fair.
Mhm.
Okay. So where was I? Oh yeah. So then it's the next day, and Sam goes to the hospital to see Cassandra, and she sees the Nassian man. And I thought it was the man who gave her the gold,
You thought
but
what?
I thought the guy who was all wrapped in the bandages was the guy who gave her the gold,
I did too.
but then it turned out I was wrong. So
He's dead.
yes, he is actually very dead. Um, but then when she leaves the room, his stomach glows a weird orange color. So like I was like, no, that is definitely something gold. That's weird.
Yeah,
I don't
very
like it.
strange.
So she goes to the office and she hugs Cassandra, and Cassandra freaks out and hides.
Mhm.
And then we get a scene with Jack and Hammond trying to work out a relocation plan, and Jack gets an urgent call and he rushes to the hospital. And I had a pit in my stomach. I was like, oh my God, Sam killed Cassandra because she's a,
Oh, I didn't think that.
but like, because that's what a gold would do.
Right, right.
Like, if you're thinking of the gold, but then once we know the story, things make a lot more sense. Um, but yeah, so he rushes to the hospital, and Janet's like, Cassandra locked herself up. She won't talk to anybody but you. He goes in there, and Cass tells her that like she can't talk to him because Sam said that she would kill her. And he was like, Sam would never kill you. And she's like, well, she would now because she's a gold.
So at this point, I have more questions.
Guy.
I started thinking about, and I was like, okay, Sam has a gold in her, and this whole time we've been trying to figure out how to get gold off people. And so either Sam is going to be gold for a while, which we know isn't the case. I was like, or we're going to find a way pretty quickly to get it out of her. And if that's the case, Kowalski didn't have to die.
Well, Kowalski, you have to remember Kowalski is now over a year ago,
I know.
and they didn't have the answers that they have then. So, like, yes, it's sad for Kowalski, but
I mean, they didn't have the answers now either until after it happened.
well, that's true. And actually, no, they still don't have the answers.
Right. Yeah.
So, um,
I was just like, we could have saved Kowalski.
yeah, we could not have, unfortunately,
I know.
um, for a lot of reasons. Um, then back at base, Sam yells at Daniel and Teal'c. And it's like, we need to go. We're supposed to be meeting Jack, the colonel in the gate room. We have to leave right now. And she like freaks out. And Daniel and Teal'c are like, what was that? So they go to the gate room, and the gate is not open. And Sam is freaking out still. So Jack comes in and he's like, the mission's on hold.
So
And
casual.
everybody's like, why? And he's like, well, and just like tranks Sam, only it doesn't work because she's a gold surprise. And Daniel and Teal'c are like, what the actual F is going on right now? Like, I have no idea. Um, so she freaks out, she loses control, she tries to fight everybody, she pulls a grenade pin, she just like goes
Nice.
absolutely nuts.
Mhm.
Um, and then she passes out,
Yep.
which was convenient.
It
I don't,
was, but I assumed it was like because it was such a new gold who wasn't adjusted to Earth. Maybe that had a because there have been other alien planets or robots or other people that couldn't be on Earth for too long because they hadn't been established. And this gold was in her, but had not fully taken over her. And so I wonder if it,
yeah, I
I
don't
gave it a
know.
little more leeway because of that.
I mean, I didn't in the moment like question immediately, but I also was like, no, but to be fair, that doesn't make sense. So,
It
um,
doesn't make sense for what we know about the gold.
correct. So then we find out that Cassie's able to tell that Sam's a goa'uld because she still has naquita in her blood, which is like convenient.
But also, like, why wouldn't she? Does it like go away?
No, no, but like convenient that having naquita in your blood like makes you like a goa'uld metal detector.
Isn't that part of it though?
No, the naquita is the element of the gate. It has nothing to do with the actual
Oh,
creature.
that's right. That's right. That's right. Maybe, well, I mean, she did figure out she was a gold, but maybe she just figured out that she was from
No, they say that.
this.
Like they say that the
I
naquita
don't know.
like helped her like a was made her able to like sense the goa'uld differently. And I
Yeah.
just think that they were like, we need a bot device, make the kid a metal detector.
Right. Right. No, I think that's fair.
Um, and then and then only then is Dr. Fisher like, oh yeah, she had a weird cut in the back of her throat. I bet that's where the goa'uld came in. Why was it in her throat? And Jack's like, oh yeah, she was giving CPR to a random dead guy on the planet. I had a lot more questions a lot earlier than either of you did.
Yeah. I don't know why I've been defending this episode so hard because they do there are a lot of things that don't make sense.
Yeah, no, like
Even though
there
I've
are
tried to
some
make them make sense.
there are some overall story, like overall Stargate story things that are great in this episode. There are some world building stuff that are important. There are some really good moments. But
No, it's just
also,
like every time you're like, this doesn't make sense. I'm like, no, it does because of this. I don't know why I'm defending it that way. It doesn't.
yeah, no, unfortunately, there's quite a lot of loose connections happening here. It is this if this were a fishing net, it would not catch many fish.
Yeah, no.
Um, so they are like, okay, well, from now on, we will definitely be using MRIs and scans every time anybody comes in through the gate because now we know that like oh, please don't touch that baby. Don't touch that. Thank you. Um, so we know that there's no, don't play with a knife. No. Grandma is upstairs. Okay. Grandpa's upstairs too. Yeah, upstairs. Keep the knife down, please. Go see mama. Go see mama. Okay. Even though what was I saying? Oh, because now we know that the gut wool might not leave a mark, so we have to actually like internally identify whether people have been like infested. And my biggest concern is why weren't you doing that in the first place?
After Kowalski, it should have always been done. Like, they
Like
only knew
that,
because he started acting out. They didn't know by just looking at him.
right? That is a hella rookie mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So
And in season 2, we are no longer rookies.
correct. So then they're like, okay, Teal'c. Well, they're like, well, now we need to scan all of the refugees and make sure that nobody else is a secret throat goa'uld. Also, Teal'c, you have to search the whole base for goa'uld, like nuclear devices, because you might know what they look like and none of us do. And Jack, you're in charge of the prisoner.
Right.
They decide that they are going to hide this from the NID and not let Senator Asshole be any the wiser
Good
and make
decision.
try to save Sam.
Fair.
Okay, good. Fan. So the doctor goes to see the bandaged man, and the bandaged man sits up and attacks him. Also, for most of my notes, I call this man Bandage Man.
Oh, that's fine.
Daniel goes to talk to one of the Nassian people too. And I was unaware of why he wanted to talk to her. And I just go, of course, it's a pretty girl that Daniel has to talk to about his feelings. I was mad.
It is, but she also looks like she has wax on her face.
Yeah.
That wasn't great
No,
makeup.
no, it was not good. Um, and then Teal goes to talk to Jack, who's like obviously not okay because he thinks he's gonna lose Sam just like he lost Kowalski, and he's having all kinds of major feelings. And Teal says some beautiful, inspiring Teal words, which
Yes.
I saved none of,
Are you talking about when he
unfortunately.
was talking to Jack?
Yeah.
Oh, he was like, remember that the thing inside is not your friend. You have to be
Yeah.
able to keep these separate.
Yeah. Which is not something Jack is really capable of doing.
Not great at it.
So
Not
then Jack finally goes to talk to the old Sam. Um, then we flash to Daniel, and Daniel's talking to the kind of pretty waxy faced Naysane girl. And it turns out that she's actually Gould Man's wife.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the man was infected with the Gould months ago. And oh, and like nothing ever happened, and he didn't act aggressive or angry or different or weird at all. And so Daniel is incredibly confused.
Well, of course.
Um, but then I got this is where I got confused because I still thought Bandage Man was Gould Man, but it was not. But he killed the doctor, maybe, or
I
knocked him
think
out.
so.
I wasn't sure if he was
Well,
unconscious or dead, but he was definitely on the
I
floor.
think he like knocked him out and replaced the bodies.
Well, yes, he did eventually, but in this scene, this is when he was laying on the floor next to the bed, like
Right.
with all the cords, and I wasn't sure if he was dead or knocked out. But then obviously when he replaced the bodies and he was on the breathing machine, like on the heartbeat monitor, it's clear that he's alive. But
Yeah.
so I was like, doctor is now dead. So the
Yeah.
old man is like up and walking around, and then he coughs out like a weird hand glow device.
All right. This is a baby infinity gauntlet.
It does
I
look like a baby infinity
will
gauntlet.
never be convinced otherwise. It is
So
the fidget spinner version of the infinity gauntlet.
did you say it's a Disney Junior version?
The fidget spinner version. So now we have our gold Iron Man hand and our fidget spinner infinity gauntlet.
That's, yes. So the fidget spinner infinity gauntlet, he coughs it up and then just like casually wipes it off with a towel and sticks it back on his hand. And I was like,
Indeed.
no, no.
No big deal.
Oh, and then I said, oh my God, he wrapped up the doctor. So that's how we know that he switched the bodies. So back at SGC, Jack and Sam are having a showdown, and the Goa'uld says that he will leave Sam, but he is too valuable and they won't let him go. So you need to let me back to the Stargate so that I can go find another host so that I can give your friend back. And Jack's like, well, like, that's not possible. He's like, no, it's possible. It's not easy. It sucks, but it's possible. Um, and then the Goa'uld like uses Sam's voice to try to manipulate Jack, and it doesn't work.
Yes, because he
And it's
listened
like,
to Tilk.
he did. He believed Teal'c's words. And the bandage Goa'uld man goes and sees an old Nacian man. Don't really know what he was doing there. He was like scanning him,
Mm-hmm.
and that was weird.
I think he
Um,
was scanning him to see if he had the Gould in him that he
Well,
was
yes,
looking.
now I know that that's what he was doing, but at the
Oh, you
time
meant
I
at
was
the
like,
time. I see.
I don't know what he's doing,
Yeah,
what
I
he's
didn't
doing
either.
people in the hospital with his Infinity Gauntlet. Like,
Mhm. Yeah, I had no idea.
um, so then we go back to SGC and Gould Sam is trying to use Teal'c to convince them to let her go. And he tells I like my he and she gets really confusing because Sam is a she, but Cholinar is a he. And it was-
That's
so Teal'c is like, have you heard of the Tok'ra? And Teal'c's like, the Tok'ra is a myth. And Cholinar is like, no, they're not, because I am Tok'ra. And Teal'c's eyes are like bugging out of his head when he leaves.
can you fully, more fully,
More
sorry,
fully.
explain the Tok'ra, or do I have to wait for
No,
people?
I can just kind of reiterate what they said in this episode in
Okay,
a way that is clearer. So the Tok'ra is an ancient Egyptian word,
great. Hmm.
like most of the old words, um, that means resistance. And it is
Oh,
basically like the rebel fighters in Star Wars. They are
I was just
within,
about to say.
yeah, they are within, they are Goa'uld, but they are Goa'uld who are fighting the power structure of
By
the
the
system lord.
Empire.
Yeah. Um, so and the Tok'ra Bratak knows people or knows Tok'ra. And Bratak met someone who was Tok'ra, and that's how he became convinced that the system lords weren't gods, and how he like trained Teal'c to believe them. So Teal'c has only ever heard of the Tok'ra through
Gotcha.
Bratak and has started to believe that they don't actually exist because everybody he knows falls in step with the system lords.
Hmm. Everything makes sense.
Yes. Which that kind of takes what Jolinar told Teal'c in that scene, what what Daniel says in the scene where Teal'c explains it, and what Teal'c explains to Jack at the end, and just combines them all into one thought
Which
instead
is
of splitting
much
it.
easier.
Yes. So, Jolinar is Telgra. Oh, my next note says, just to clarify, the Tok'ra are a Goa'uld that theoretically seek power for good, not for selfish greed, and try to knock down the system. So
They fight the man.
the bandage man is now looking at Talia when Daniel comes in, which is not super important yet.
Right.
Um, but then we're still at the hospital. Janet realizes that the doctor is missing and freaks out and finds him in bed, bandaged up.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun. So then everyone at SGC is talking about this, and Jolinar tells them that the missing Mason man was a Goa'uld Ashraf, which is like a secret assassin specifically sent to search out Tok'ra. So it's not like it's more like,
Like an enemy spy.
yeah, it's more like a spy, but like I'm trying to think if we were talking about the Star Wars analogy, there,
Like Black Widow. They're
what's that?
sent to kill people. Like Black Widow. Like all the Black Widows of
Oh,
Marvel.
like the Black Widows. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, but a little bit less because it's not like sent to just kill people that are enemies in general. It's only the Ashok is only meant to kill Tok'ra. So it's only people who are killing rebels within, not enemies. There is a group in Star Wars that is basically their job. And I can't think of what they're called right now.
Okay.
But they now it's making me mad, but I can't think of what that group of assassins is called. So you'll have to move on before I feel stupid.
That's fine. We'll move on.
Thanks. So the SG team now believes Jolinar, and they're going to try and hunt for the Ashra. Good, good for them. I believe Jolinar as soon as he gave his name.
Mm-hmm.
You look like you have something to say.
I'm waiting to see if you address it. I'm very excited that we've brought ourselves back to the
Oh, okay,
initial
okay.
story.
Yes, no, I do have that. I do have the next note.
I will wait then.
So while they're in this room and they're talking about things, Jolinar is like, yeah, the Ashrak is specifically looking for me. So like your only way to succeed is to let me go. The only chance for Sam to survive this is if you let me go and find a new host and get away from the Ashrak. And Daniel is like, well, in that case, I'm very, very sorry to Sam that I'm going to have to watch her die. Because I'm not letting you go, because I'm never going to let a Goa'uld prisoner go, because I don't believe that there could ever be such thing as a good Goa'uld. And and Jolinar says, but I can save her. And he is like, no, what, blah, blah. And she's like, I'm not talking about Sam. I can save Sharae.
Charade!
Um, and Daniel obviously wants to go for it. But
But he
Jack,
also always has to make the best choice for the good of humanity. And every time it's something that hurts him.
every time Shari gets brought up, Daniel has to not save her because humanity won't let him.
Right.
But the Ashrak has, at this point, infiltrated the Air Force and is now breaking onto the base.
Mm-hmm.
The Ashrak makes it all the way to Jolinar and begins the execution and finishes the execution, really. And then the Ashrak and two other people who I guess are also gold. I was very confused why they were working with.
So they're not got old, but when he
Oh, they're
walked
people
up
that
to
he Infinity Gauntlet brain.
yes, yes.
Um, and Jack and Teal run right past them like big dummies.
And they're
And
like, the guards are dead and a prisoner's dead. And then they just keep running.
yeah, like that should have been your number one sign that something's wrong.
Right.
But you did nothing. Stupid. So they go and they call medical, and Janet is in like extreme rescue, riding the gurney, screaming commands mode, um, trying to save Sam. Down in base or in the gate room, Daniel sees the Ashrak and is like, wait a second, you're not Air Force. I saw you at the hospital. You were a doctor. This is confusing. And then the Ashrak is like, ha ha ha, hostage.
And he just goes, oh geez. I was like, okay, well that's a little toned down. I feel like you
Damn
should be a
it.
little more concerned, but okay.
Um, so then Teal'c runs into the base room and he has the cool phallic looking weapon that we learned about that we found on the uh ship last
Shit.
season. And he says, I'm so sorry, Daniel Jackson. And then stuns them both. But remember, one
One is fine.
one stuns, two kills, three disintegrates.
Yep.
So he only stuns Jackson, but then he shoots the Ashrak twice to kill them.
Yeah.
Now, all of this is going back and forth with the surgery room and this scene with Teal'c and Jackson, like, or going back and forth and back and forth. But basically, we end in the hospital where the whole time that they're doing surgery, they find that there are still two heartbeats. So they separate the heartbeats and they're monitoring Jolinar and Sam separately. And finally, Jolinar's heartbeat stops and Sam's is faint, but it's still there, and they're able to wake her up. And when she wakes up, she tells them that Jolinar um, let itself die to save Sam for them.
There are good gold.
And then Sam is all depressed. And so they take Cassie to see her, to cheer her up. And the episode ends. Yeah.
Cool.
So, yes, there are, in fact, some good gold.
Got a lot of like important information this episode.
Yes. In fact, there was quite a bit of important information in this episode. Um, like that the Tok'ra exist, that it is possible for a Goa'uld to leave the body, that really those are the two big ones.
Yeah.
Oh, that what the Ashrak are, that's another big one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
my trivia for the episode, one thing says warning, spoilers. This episode marks the first appearance of the Tok'ra.
Oh,
Yes.
spoiler.
It also marks the first appearance of Jolinar of Malksor, who is frequently mentioned in later episodes. Obviously, Jolinar is now dead, but Jolinar would be talked about quite a bit.
As did she.
Also, to answer one of your questions, this is the final appearance of Katie Stewart as Cassandra. In several future episodes, Cassandra is frequently talked about, and her character makes future appearances later on with other actresses in the role as she ages.
Got it. That tracks.
In the Stargate control room, a female USAF tech sergeant hands a phone to Hammond. She is wearing a pale blue long sleeve blouse and a dark blue sleeveless dress. That outfit is the USAF semi-formal maternity uniform designed specifically for pregnant personnel.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Oh, the shot of Carter in the opening credits, running into the gate room and looking at the gate, then away and up, comes from this episode. This may seem odd until you realize that Showtime, the original network for the show, ordered the first two seasons up front, and likely most of these episodes were produced before the show started airing.
Yep.
So that answers the question we had last week about filming blocks.
Yep.
So the first two seasons were filmed together.
Got it. And that makes sense.
Katie Stewart also played a character named Phoebe in a show called Lithia, which also aired on Showtime on July 3rd, 1998.
Oh, I've never heard of that show.
Me either, but if you like Katie Stewart, apparently that was a very good day to be a Katie Stewart fan.
It was a good day for you. Got it.
So yeah, that is my trivia.
Nice, nice.
My question is, who would you like to punch?
Fast track.
Fair.
No question.
No question. Yeah, that's a really
want to punch anyone else.
I actually wanted to punch almost everyone. But I'm gonna like specifically choose Jack purely because if you really care so much about Sam that you cannot handle this job, why did it take you so long to know that she was a Goa'uld?
Yeah. Good question. Good question.
Yeah, so I'm gonna punch him. Not like a knockout cold punch, but just like a crack to the face.
Like a wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was your MVP?
I never thought I would say this. Jolinar. I never thought a gold would be my MVP.
Uh, Jolinar is probably the only like real answer, but because you picked Jolinar, I will pick Cassandra.
Fair. She's the only one who realized anything was different.
She's the only one who was like, something is wrong.
Yep.
Yeah. Um,
I
do you
feel like
do you have any predictions?
um no, I have thoughts.
Okay, share your thoughts
Um
then.
I feel like at this point I'm getting to where like I grasp a lot of the stuff in the episodes. So now that they're introducing new important things, it's easier to keep up with than in the
That's
beginning.
that's totally
Because
fair.
I could not tell you the name of the other Goa'uld that was on the spaceship that you said was going to be a recurring character. I think it starts with an N.
Oh, yeah, it does start with an N. Um, yes, I can't remember it right now either, but
But like, I would, I don't know anything about that character anymore
well,
because I feel
that's
like
fair
it,
because we don't know anything about that character yet, except for like one offhand mention.
and there was so much introduced so early that it was just like I kept up with like Apophis and and the
Which, to be
Nox.
fair, we did talk about this on the season wrap up that a lot of the beginning of season one felt a little bit like spaghetti on the wall, like just throwing things to see what sticks. And there were a lot of things that were introduced that I know are important because I've seen season nine. But like if you haven't, the ability to grasp that many small details doesn't really work, nor should it. I think this season we're at least on a much clearer storyline and we are focused on the Egyptian god Goa'uld and we killed quote unquote Apophis in season
Right,
one or in episode one. Episode two is dealing with the Goa'uld and the aftermath of thinking Apophis is dead. Like
right. It's making sense. Things, even though not starting where we stopped, we're starting where we stopped enough. Like,
and to be fair, episode one, Scar was in the episode.
yeah.
Episode two, Sharae was mentioned. Maybe, maybe we'll get three in a row.
Ooh, that would be
I mean,
exciting.
to be fair, technically we are on our third in a row because we're on our fourth in a row because Scar was in a three-part episode.
Okay, but look, that doesn't count. But
But
I don't think we're gonna see them rescue Sharae until the end of this season because I'm guessing since this was meant to be 2 seasons, that
that's like a wrap up for season two.
that's like their series finale was like if we don't go past this, we have to make that the finale and what the show's
That's
been.
a very,
So
very valid interpretation.
yeah, so I do think I'm God willing, I'm hoping we get more talk at least about Sharae,
Right.
and then we maybe see Scar again, which I know Scar could come or go because he is with the Apophis, whatever.
Yeah,
But I don't think the final like saving grace is going to be until the finale.
that's fair. If you have opinions about Skara and Sharae actually being in season two, or if you would like to send us a pilot script for Stargate Millennial, um, please,
Please.
please contact us at Gmail. No, on email at deafandaliens@gmail.com. I mess that up every single time.
Every week.
I
Every
don't email me. Apparently, I don't know how to use it.
week.
But also please email me, especially if you're writing a pilot for Stargate Millennial.
Yes.
Um, You can also follow us on all of the social medias at Deaf and Aliens, all one word. You can follow me everywhere at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can follow me at CE Cloud 13.
And we will be back for Thriller Thursday with some more Bates Motel for you.
Yeah.
Bye.